This video highlights the updates to the Projectile plugin. So, one of the changes to the Projectile plugin is the fact that if you are GM and you launch a projectile, it's not a problem because a GM has access to all characters. So I can, as a GM, I can pick up this character, and then when I need to target, I can select this character. Now, the problem is that as a player, that's not the case. If I switch to player mode here, in this case, I have access to this character, but not this character. So now I can't use the Projectile plugin because I can't select that character as being a target. So what one of the updates to the Projectile plugin allows you to do is, it's not a complete fix, but it is good enough for now, and that is that it allows you to select near a character, and the animation will, of course, then look like it's attacking that character, even though you've actually not selected the character. So I will demonstrate that here. We'll take an arrow. Now you can see I'm a player. If I go over here, my pointer turns to a hand to say that I can't select it. But if I go right beside that and click, you can see that the projectile flies and lands beside the mini. But for most cases, that should be good enough. Eventually, we're hoping to have a pure fix for that, where you can actually be allowed to select the character, but so far this is kind of the good enough for now. Now this also means that you can now select areas to target with your projectile as opposed to a mini. So I can now take that arrow, and instead of firing at that mini, I can fire at the ground here. So that's kind of a side benefit. And that, though, leads us into the other update, which is the morph update. So previously, as you can see right here with the arrow, you have a projectile and you fire it, and that projectile stays the same for the duration of the flight, and then basically disappears. That's great for things like arrows, but what if you want to do something like fireball spell? Well, you could do a little fireball that would fly and land at the enemy's feet, but it wouldn't be all that impressive because, well, I mean, a fireball is supposed to have a 20-foot radius. That's where the morph update comes in. Now, projectiles can have their base appearance, but also provide an appearance for what they look like when they hit. Typically, the hit effect will be a particle effect, so that it doesn't look static, and it will be triggered when the projectile hits. So I will demonstrate that with Fireball. So I'm going to select Fireball here. I'm going to throw it near the character. We can see our little fireball going, and when it hits, kapow! 20-foot radius incinerated. So yeah, that's the morph plugin. Basically allows your projectile to have one appearance while it is traveling and a second appearance when it hits. And after a specified duration, it will disappear altogether. That's about it. Just a note regarding the projectile plugin selection near a mini but not on the mini. Currently, that selection always assumes a 0 elevation. Now, obviously, if you have a mouse pointer that is basically moving in a 2D space, and you're trying to interpret that as being a 3D space, it's difficult. You basically have to assume one of the dimensions. So for example, if I've got a mouse pointer here right above this mini, what does that mean? Is this mouse pointer actually above that mini? Or is it on the ground further up like that on the plane, but further into the screen? You can't tell. So the plugin has to make some kind of a decision. And in this case, the default is that it assumes that you are on a zero elevation plane. So if I put my mouse here, or sorry, if I put my mouse up here, it's going to assume that that is not above the mini, but that is on the ground a little bit further into the screen. That means if you've got elevation and you click near a mini, it's probably going to be wrong. The higher that elevation, the more off it is going to be. We're still looking for a solution for that. Again, ideally, we'll find a way to allow the selection of a mini, even if it is not your, if you don't have permissions for it, to make these kind of selections. But for now, this is what we've got. And that's about it.